Hey everyone, so today we are comparing 3 entry to mid-range gigging amplifiers. This is the Hiwatt Maxwatt G50R, the Marshall MG101 GFX, and the Vox VT100x. So the Hiwatt is a solid state, it's simple, budget, plug and play, no effects built in. You got your clean and your distortion channel, that's pretty much it. For the Marshall, solid state plus effects, more effects than you'd need. It's feature rich. It's a gigging ready amp, especially with a foot switch. And the Vox is a modeling amp, meaning you have loads of different preset amps, loads to play around with, and tons of it's very versatile, let's say. Okay, let's start with the pricing. In order, the Hiwatt is typically the cheapest, Marshall in the mid, the Vox is slightly higher, but you do get more features with that. However, I would say in the used market, which most of these would be available in right now, they're all probably in that same range, and I'm going to call this for under 500 New Zealand dollars, which is around about 300 to 350 US dollars, or about 250 pounds. Now, to get an amp for that price, that's more than loud enough and sounds great for live shows, and even quiet enough to tone it down and still be able to jam at home. I think they're all a bargain, but let's go through the different features and sounds of these amps so you can hear them all compared with each other and help make you make a decision if you're looking at getting one of these amps or if you're in the market for a gigging amp. So all of these amps are more than loud enough and capable for live shows. Let's start with the Vox, a bit of an overview here. Amp modeling, you've got tons of different sounds, from cleans to low drives to screaming blues to heavy metal. It can do it all, and it really can. The amount of effects in here, all of the modulation, you've got your delay, your reverb, everything that you would need in my opinion, but do check everything else because you might be looking for something specific that this amp doesn't have. It's got it in my opinion. It's got your USB interface and all of the software editing. You can plug this in. It's an all-in-one Studio Plus amp. You can put it into your laptop, into your DAW, run it through there to record with. You could mic it up, you can play with it live, you can crank it real low for home, and you still get that same awesome tone. In my opinion, the Vox is a gigging machine, as is the Marshall MG101 GFX. You got 4 channels, you got clean, crunch, overdrive 1, overdrive 2. With a foot switch, that's what I mean. This is a gigging machine. With the foot switch, it's everything that you'll need, just like the Vox, but a little bit tailored back. I would say that the effects that are built in are great. They're typical Marshall. There's just some things that I would never use, like with the Vox. Again, that's my preference. I don't really use effects to the extent that a lot of you would. It's just for my playing, I don't. But it's got an FX loop built in, which is a big deal for pedal users because you can link all of your own pedals with it, or you can use all of the effects there. It's everything that you'll need. Foot switch is included, so look, if you're buying it used, make sure you have the foot switch, and same for the Vox. I don't think the Vox amp actually came with the foot switch, but it should do. Make sure you get one with a foot switch, especially if you want to play live or at home. Either way, it's really great. Now, the Hiwatt. Simple amp, raw, just 2 channels, clean and drive, basic EQ, minimal with no effects. Just plug and play. Now, for live playing, you will want to have a foot switch. You will want to have some other pedals so you're not having to run back to the amp and toggle between clean and drive. Unless you only need one setting for what you're playing, it might be your style. Either way, get some pedals with it. The amp sounds great. Overall, it's a great sounding amp and it is very loud. That clean tone really shines with the Vox. As you would have heard from the comparison, I would probably rank the clean tone of the Vox at the highest. On that note, we've compared all the sounds, you've heard the amps. Let me go through what I feel sounds the best for clean, drive, lead, and gigging. So for clean tones, I think the Hiwatt wins. It has a real crisp, lovely clean tone that I think everyone would like. As you crank it up, that clean tone just gets warmer rather than thinner, which I feel some other amps do. By the way, not the Vox and Marshall. I do think their clean tones are really nice and awesome. However, I feel that the Hiwatt amp is leading the way with that lovely, bright, clean tone. It's bright enough to have that real snappy, hard tone, but it's soft enough for you to be able to give some nice kind of warm tones as well. For drive, I personally think that the Vox amp wins here. There's just too much to really compare to with all the different tones. The Marshall has that classic Marshall drive tone. It's for some people, it's not for others. Most people seem to really like Marshall amps. I am in that category. I love Marshall amps. I think they're great. However, might not be for some. You can play around with the settings on all of these amps to get what you want. I think that the Vox amp shines through with the rhythm tones, and I'm also going to put the amp leading for the lead drive tones, the Vox amp leading here. The reason is when I've cranked it up and played with this live, so I might be a little bit biased, I just feel it still gives that real nice, smooth, clean, not thin sounding lead tone. Some amps, when driven loud and played live, some kind of entry to mid-range amps, lose a bit of their tone when driven loud and played live. I don't feel that the EQs of the amps always cut through, but with the Vox I can confirm that it does. You can listen to some of my live shows on my YouTube if you want to hear it cranked. I really like it. And for gigging, well, all three amps are more than enough that you would ever need for gigging. Honestly, they are so loud. Between 50 and 100 watts is enough. Some people might disagree with me, but look, if you're playing a venue where you need more than a 50 watt amp, you will be mic'd up. If you're on a huge stage somewhere, I mean, I've never played at a stadium show or something, so if you're there, you're probably not going to be using one of these amps. But look, if that's cranked up, you're going to hear it. They are loud, put it that way. So I would not worry about the volume of any of these amps. I didn't crank them all the way just because it would have blew my eardrums. I was in a small practice room. I did just record those sound tones on a iPhone, so audio quality may not have the best representation through an iPhone speaker or iPhone mic, but you got the picture, and at least it was uniform between the three. I had to be consistent, right? On that note, which amp should you buy? Whichever one you like. Go play, go look at your budget, and whatever you'll get, you'll enjoy it. Amps are good these days. Think about what guitar you're going to play. Think about what you're using it for. Think about if you need your additional pedals. And most of all, think about your budget. But look, playing is the main thing here. Just enjoy playing, keep rocking, and I'll see you in the next one.